December 7's new Marvel Comics, the full list. The two most famous clones ever are back to take what's theirs in this week's Marvel Comics. Ben Reilly and Madeline Pryor have had enough. In Dark Web 2022, #1 by Zeb Wells and Adam Kubert, they will reignite the Inferno, and Spider-Man and the X-Men are not ready for what comes next. Plus, what role does Venom have in all of this? The sun is setting, dusk is approaching, and it's going to be a long night. Limbo's takeover of New York City begins in Dark Web 2022, #1, on sale this Wednesday, December 7th. The other Spider-Man will also have his hands full in Miles Morales' Spider-Man 2022, #1 by Cody Ziegler and Federico Vicentini. Spider-Man faces the strongest superpowered foes and most dangerous gauntlets the multiverse can throw his way, and every time Miles Morales falls, he rises again, stronger than before, until now. There are some punches you don't get up from, and a new villain isn't pulling a single one as they threaten everyone and everything Miles loves. Between school, home, his love life and battling supercharged and upgraded villains night and day, Miles is reaching his breaking point. And when this new foe is finished, Spider-Man's world will be changed forever. Likewise, Lunella Lafayette knows being a preteen superhero is hard. Doing it when your parents finally know about it is even harder, but Lunella, aka Moon Girl, in Human Super Genius, has a plan to keep heroing in Moon Girl 2022, #1 by Jordan Ifwiko and Alba Glez. To provide herself with the perfect alibi, she has organized a roller derby team of other Inhuman kids. It's just supposed to be an excuse to get out of the apartment with all her superhero gear in tow, but it turns out to be kind of fun. But nothing is simple when you're a superhero, and one of the kids on the team might just be more sinister than they appear. Meanwhile, the biggest Avengers saga in Marvel history continues in Jason Aaron and Javier Garrin's Avengers 2018, #63. At long last, the Avengers stand face to face with their prehistoric counterparts, the Avengers of 1 million BC. But if the two groups cannot work together, they have no hope of defeating Doom Supreme and his marauding band of multiversal masters of evil, who have come to erase all of Marvel history as we know it. Then, in Immortal X-Men 2022, #9 by Kieran Gillen and Lucas Wernick, Mr. Sinister sets the stage for Sins of Sinister, Vote. Die. Repeat. Putting the meat in office meeting. Trust me, bad spelling is the least of the Quiet Council's problems as everything hits the fan. Additionally, the Extreme team is back in Extreme X-Men 2022, #1. Legendary X-Scribe Chris Claremont reunites with artistic dynamo Salvador LaRocca for an all-new story set just after the groundbreaking original run of Extreme X-Men. A powerful psychic attack on Kitty Pryde from her old enemy Ogun brings the Extreme team back together for a high-stakes mission, but what secret is Ogun hiding, and will even the combined might of Bishop, Sage, Gambit, Rogue, Rachel Summers, Storm, and Wolverine be enough to stop his insidious plan? The excitement starts here, with the kickoff to the arc that will have wide-reaching implications for some of your favorite X characters. Face down the multiversal masters of evil with the Avengers, witness the start of Sins of Sinister, join Moon Girl's Inhuman roller derby team, and more by picking up the latest titles this week. From fresh comics to collections and even Marvel Unlimited, find the full list of new releases here. You can grab these comics and more digitally or at your favorite local comic book shop. Be sure to ask your local shop about their current business policies to observe social distancing or other services they may offer, including holding or creating pull lists, curbside pickups, special deliveries, and other options to accommodate. Find and support your local comic book shop at comicsHopLocator.com or by visiting marvel.com/lovacomikeshops. 9 heroes inspired by Spider-Man in honor of Recrap's debut. Here are a few other characters who were inspired by Spider-Man to become heroes, including Miles Morales and Jessica Jones. Thanks to his web-slinging adventures as Spider-Man, Peter Parker is one of the most inspirational figures in the Marvel Universe. A living example of how to use great power responsibly, Spider-Man has inspired dozens of characters throughout the multiverse to embrace their heroic destinies. Now, as part of the ongoing Dark Web 2022 crossover event, Spider-Man has even inspired one of Limbo's demons to take up the heroic mantle as Rick Rapp in Amazing Spider-Man 2022, number 17 by Zeb Wells, Ed McGuinness, Cliff Rathburn, and Marcio Menes. Let's take a closer look at some of the other Marvel Universe characters Spider-Man has inspired to follow in his footsteps. Miles Morales. Before Miles Morales became Spider-Man in the main Marvel Universe, he was deeply moved by the death of Peter Parker in his home dimension, the Ultimate Marvel Universe. When a genetically modified spider's bite gave Miles spider powers, he initially didn't want to use them to become a superhero, but after watching the Green Goblin kill his world's young Parker, Miles was inspired to start operating as Spider-Man with a store-bought costume in Ultimate Fallout 2011, number 4 by Brian Michael Bendis and Sarah Pichelli. Despite intense initial skepticism from the late Parker's allies, Miles won them over with his heroic acts against Electro. Nick Fury even replaced his store-bought Spider-Man costume with his unique red and black suit. As Miles' adventures led him to start hopping dimensions, he went on to team up with and befriend the Marvel Universe's Peter Parker. He now calls the main Marvel Universe his home, where he continues to operate as Spider-Man alongside Parker. Jessica Jones. Long before Jessica Jones was a hard-boiled private investigator or a member of the New Avengers, she was one of Peter Parker's classmates at Midtown High School. After exposure to radioactive chemicals gave her super strength, Jessica watched a young Spider-Man fight the Sandman at their school, as revealed in a story in Amazing Spider-Man 1999, number 601 by Brian Michael Bendis and Joe Quesada. Jessica said that watching that fight was a defining moment that inspired her to use her powers as the ill-fated superhero Jewel. Although the Purple Man put an early end to her time as a costumed hero, Jessica's heroic exploits earned her a place in the Defenders and on a few Avengers teams, including a new Avengers squad that included her teenage hero Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, Maddie Franklin. In an attempt to increase his power, Norman Osborn once invited 5 individuals to be part of the Gathering of 5, a mystical ritual that randomly distributed powers and curses among its participants. In 1998's Amazing Spider-Man 1963, number 441 by John Byrne, Raphael Kyanan, and Bud LaRosa. Despite Osborn's intentions, Maddie Franklin, a longtime Spider-Man fan and the teenage niece of J. Jonah Jameson, walked away from the ceremony with several superhuman abilities, including super strength and the ability to fly. When Peter Parker took a quick hiatus from web-slinging shortly after that, Franklin briefly impersonated Spider-Man before taking the name Spider-Woman, with permission from Jessica Drew, the original Spider-Woman, in 1999's Amazing Spider-Man 1999, number 5 by Howard Mackey and John Byrne. After her relatively short superhero career, Franklin worked with the Loners, a group of former teen heroes, and was ritually killed by Sasha Kravinoff. Scarlet Spider, Ben Reilly. Although Ben Reilly is currently busy menacing Spider-Man as Chasm in Dark Web, Peter Parker's erstwhile clone followed Spider-Man's heroic example for many years. As part of a plot against Spider-Man, Miles Warren, the mad scientist better known as the Jackal, created Ben and gave him Peter's memories in Amazing Spider-Man 1963, number 149 by Jerry Conway, Ross Andru, and Mike Esposito. Riley appeared to die soon after meeting Peter, but what he actually got was a second shot at life. He started traveling across America, where his memories of Peter's life compelled him to perform heroic feats. Riley eventually befriended Peter and started working alongside him as the Scarlet Spider, even briefly taking over as Spider-Man. But after dying and returning as a villainous new Jackal, Ben started working for the nefarious Beyond Corporation. As a result of their attempts to erase his memories, Ben lost many of the formative memories he inherited from Peter, which created a gnawing absence in his mind that drove him to seek revenge as Chasm. Steel Spider. Ali Osnick started out as Dr. Octopus' biggest fan, complete with his very own set of homemade tentacles, in 1982's Peter Parker, The Spectacular Spider-Man, 1976, number 72 by Bill Mantlo and Ed Hennigan. But after Spider-Man stopped the young would-be villain, Ali became obsessed with the web slinger. After refashioning his tentacles into spider legs and donning a Spider-Man Halloween costume, Ali briefly operated as the heroic but hapless Spider Kid in Amazing Spider-Man, 1963, number 263 by Tom DeFalco, Ron Frenz, Brett Breeding, and John Beatty. Ali eventually re-emerged as a more high-tech, agile, and violent vigilante called the Steel Spider. Although he stepped away from crime fighting for a while, Ali was inspired by Spider-Man's actions during Civil War, 2006, to operate as an unregistered hero. However, Ali's time as the Steel Spider ended after a brutal battle with Norman Osborn's Thunderbolts led to his dismemberment and capture. Black Cat. Like her father before her, Felicia Hardy was once one of the most skilled thieves in the Marvel Universe. Shortly after her first encounter with Spider-Man in Amazing Spider-Man, 1963, number 194 by Marv Wolfman, Keith Pollard, and Frank Giacoia, the Black Cat grew infatuated with the web-slinger, seeing him as a kindred spirit. As the Black Cat tried to win Spider-Man's affection, the pair began working together as vigilantes and started a relationship. The couple went on to have an off-and-on relationship that they rekindled several times over the following years. After a short stint running a criminal empire, the Black Cat has resumed her status as one of Spider-Man's closest allies and befriended Parker's longtime love Mary Jane Watson. She has also taken steps into the wider superhero community by forging bonds with heroes like Iron Man and Captain America. Flash Thompson. Long before Eugene Flash Thompson bonded with a symbiote to become the heroic Agent Venom and Agent Anti-Venom, he was Spider-Man's biggest fan. When Flash was one of Peter Parker's classmates at Midtown High School, he formed a Spider-Man fan club and even dressed up as the web-slinger to defend his name in Amazing Spider-Man, 1963, number 18 by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. Despite his past as a bully, Flash was inspired by Spider-Man's heroism to join the military and prove his selflessness. Eventually, that decision led to Flash being bonded with the Venom symbiote as part of a government program. While bonded with the Venom and Anti-Venom symbiotes, Flash kept their violent impulses under control and earned a place among the Avengers, the Guardians of the Galaxy, and Spider-Man's close allies. The Slingers. After being falsely accused of murder, Peter Parker briefly put aside his Spider-Man identity and fought crime under 4 new superhero identities. Then, when Peter resumed operations as Spider-Man, a new group of young heroes adopted his other identities and banded together as the Slingers. Together, the high-tech Hornet, the shadowy Dusk, the mystically empowered Prodigy, and the agile mutant Ricochet carried on the heroic legacy of Peter's one-time alter egos for years. After the group disbanded, Ricochet dismissed the Slingers as a group of Spider-Man wannabes. Nevertheless, when the original Hornet was killed by a brainwashed Wolverine, the Slingers reassembled to deal with Ben Reilly's harsh crime-fighting methods. Recently, Hobie Brown, the original Prowler, took over the Hornet identity and teamed up with Dusk and Ricochet to stop the creatures rampaging through the Beyond Corporation in 2022's Amazing Spider-Man #88.BEY by Jeffrey Thorne, Jan Bazaldua, and Jim Tao. Dr. Octopus. Dr. Octopus may be one of Spider-Man's deadliest foes, but Peter Parker's heroism deeply moved Otto Octavius and inspired him to prove that he could be the superior Spider-Man. After Octavius transferred his mind into Spider-Man's body to get revenge on the web-slinger, Parker overwhelmed his longtime rival with a lifetime of memories and emotions in Amazing Spider-Man, 1999, number 700 by Dan Slott, Humberto Ramos, and Victor Olazaba. Overcome by the selfless heroic actions that defined Parker's life, Octavius vowed to be a hero, and that inspiration sustained him throughout his superhero career in Superior Spider-Man 2013. Even after Peter regained control over his body, Parker's memories continue to inspire his actions as the Superior Octopus. Although he has started operating as a villain again, Octavius continues to show Parker some lingering respect for his heroic legacy.